Hello everyone, and welcome to another video talking geeky stuff with me, Tenchi. And today's video is another comic artist focus. This one is with Andy Kubert. So you watched my video about 2 weeks ago, where I focused on Adam Kubert, his older brother. So Andy Kubert is the son of Joe Kubert, legendary Joe Kubert, and the younger brother of Adam Kubert. Just like Adam Kubert, his artwork very similar. While I was doing finding pictures for both of them, I came across that I sometimes got mixed up with some of their artwork, because the artwork was very similar. That's by no means a bad thing. No, the more you kind of watch, read, you do notice there's a slight difference overall, but they're both amazing artists. So Andy is like Adam. They're both very versatile. They're both kind of in a way, to me in a way, I don't know, I'm not speaking for anyone, but just for me, I noticed them more once the big names left, like Jim Lee, McFarlane, and so on, to found Image Comics. And of course, you had Andy and Adam. You were great artists at the time. I mean, they vastly improved a lot in the next few years, of course. So now Marvel got them to do some of the flagship titles: X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, Wolverine, Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, and so on. And that's when I started to notice them a lot more. I mean, I've always noticed them, but at the same time, it's because at that time, being a young teenager, he was always focused on the best artists or the most famous artists of that time. To me, it was Jim Lee and McFarlane was my two favorite artists, followed behind by Mark Silvestri and so on. And then even later on, during their time in Image Comics, they introduced other artists like Joe Madureira, J. Scott Campbell, and so on. So in a certain way, Andy and Adam kind of got, put in the nicest way, kind of overshadowed a bit. But as time goes along, you get older, you start to appreciate more styles of artwork. You went back and read a lot of the comics like X-Men and Wolverine and their artwork, and you realize, wow, they are actually really good, if not better than some of the artists I mentioned, if not at least on the same level, right? And they've vastly improved. As I mentioned in my last video about Adam, I think it was a blessing that Jim Lee, McFarlane, and Silvestri left, because they can hone their skills a lot more. They can experiment a lot more. That wasn't really always compared with them. So they found their identity in a way, and their artwork greatly improved. I mean, just looking at some of the titles that they do, from Kazar X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Thor, Captain America, Fantastic Four, and so on. They are so versatile, they can make everyone look good. Not many artists can do that. For example, one of my favorite artists, McFarlane, I think he's a great artist, but sometimes he's in his own ways worse enemy, because he's so restricted to his style. Spider-Man, Spawn, and so on. I've seen him do X-Men. They were good. It wasn't as good as, say, Andy, Adam, or Jim Lee. That's why I think their strong point is being so versatile. And also, if you look at his artwork, just like his brother, it's very dynamic. I've said this many times. Sometimes the best artist is not just making a panel look good. You've got to make the panel very dramatic, sometimes even chaotic, because comic is not like a novel where the reader imagines the scene play out, right? The comic is both visual and reading at the same time. So it tells us, it's almost like a storyboard for a movie. So I think his artwork, just like Adam, is very dynamic, frenetic, lots of energy. You know, a single panel tells so much action to it. Just look at the images here, like the Wolverine X-Men covers. There's so much action to it. I particularly like the one, the bottom left with Kazar, where he's trying to stab Thanos. That image has a lot of dramatic to it. You know, there's so much movement going on, but you can clearly see it's just a single panel, but there's so much story that's going on with a single cover. And that's where I think his artwork really shines, is that very dramatic, and even certain angles he uses. If you look at some of the Batman covers, Superman covers here, very, not only because it's dramatic and very fanatic, but at the same time, he has a sense of peace. That's where you look at some of the Superman artwork. When Superman's flying, for example, you need to have that kind of peace, but it's also feel like he's moving and flying. Maybe I'm reading too much for it, but that's the whole point about comics, is it's through the eyes of the interpreter, right? So I interpret it this way. I mean, Andy could have just thinking, okay, I'm going to do it this way, but you know, the readers will interpret it whichever they look at. Even just looking at the bottom left here, the Batman with a green background, just that scene alone tells you so much of the story and what Batman's thinking about. So there you go. So enough of me talking about how great his artwork is. Let me know, what do you think of Andy's artwork? Do you think he's better than Adam? I don't want to use that word, better than his, her, etc. I think they're both great. I mean, they're brothers after all, so they've got a lot of similarities. Trust me, their artwork is quite similar. But overall, I like them both evenly matched. I would say I think that Andy does a better Batman. Adam does a better Wolverine. There you go. But overall, they pretty evenly match. But anyway, thank you for staying this long. And please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. And please stay safe. Goodbye.